Okay, this is the pH meter. As with all the meters that we use, there's a two-step process to getting a reading. The first step is to do some kind of quality control procedure, so make sure the meter is working correctly, and then you go ahead and take a measurement on your sample. So what we have here is the meter as it comes in storage, and there's a couple of important things to know about this. First of all, it always must be in this liquid. It is a pH 4 buffer solution, and so if this ever gets spilled, you always refill it with pH 4 buffer solution, and it stays in that all the time except when you're using it. To take it out of this, you unscrew the lid, pull the probe out of the bottle, and leave the lid on the probe. So you can work with the probe exactly like this, and just set this aside so that it doesn't spill. Okay, one other thing about the pH meter before we really get going. They tend to break easily, and they tend to break easily right here, and that's from bad storage, bad carrying, inattention to detail. This wire is very fragile, will rip right out of the meter, and it's a couple $100s to replace. So you've really got to treat these connections with kid gloves as you do the work. So I'm going to follow the instructions for first the quality control check of the pH meter. And I'm not going to go through every step of the instructions here because you really need to read them as you're doing the work. But let me give you the big picture so you see what's going on. First of all, you need to turn the unit on, and using this mode key, you need to follow the instructions carefully and make sure that you're in exactly the right mode. We're going to be in a calibration mode here, and certain things have to appear on the screen exactly right, and you need to hit this mode key until they match what the instructions are telling you. So let me do that. And you can see it can take a little bit of time. So I now have it set to the correct mode. The first step that I'm going to do is simply to rinse this in a little bit of deionized water, and I'm going to do that in this bucket that I've got. So I'm simply giving it a rinse in deionized water. I'm now going to be able to start my quality control procedures, and they're going to work basically like this. I'm going to first place the probe into the pH 7 buffered solution, which is color coded in yellow. I need to make sure I have enough of this in here to cover the entire probe, the end of the probe. And I'm going to follow the set of instructions on my sheet that tells me exactly what to do when the probe is in the solution. Now, again, I'm not going over those instructions in detail. You just have to read them. But to get a good reading, you have to be slowly moving the probe through the solution. Don't be agitating it quickly. Don't be letting it just sit. It's just a slow, steady movement through the solution. Follow the instructions. The instructions, you're going to push some buttons on this meter. The instructions are going to then ask you to give the probe a rinse. You're going to push some other buttons according to the instructions, and then put it into the pH 4 solution. And you're going to do the same thing, keeping it submerged and slowly moving and following the rest of the instructions. Once this meter has experienced the two solutions with the correct buttons being pushed, it has now been confirmed to be giving accurate readings. And so now it's ready to be used for a sample. And to do that is the easiest thing of all. Once it is calibrated using the procedures that we just used, you simply take the meter, and here's a bucket of water. You put the probe in, you move the probe around slowly just like you did with the buffer solutions, and your pH reading will come up on the meter. And you now know that's accurate because you went through these steps with the buffer solution during the quality control. All of that gets recorded onto the data sheet. That's it.